Now it's time to look a little bit closer at strings, because it's good to have a good understanding before you moving further to the next chapters. It's good to have a good foundation about strings and what we can do with strings. Therefore, I'm gonna delete this code because I don't need this code, so just delete it. And whenever you want to work with strings, I'm gonna add the print. So I'm gonna add the print to output something in the console. I'm gonna put the left parenthesis, the open parenthesis, and the closing parenthesis. And within the parenthesis, I'm gonna put double quotation marks, and I'm gonna type learning Python. This is a string, plain text. So whatever you put between the double quotation marks, it will be treated as text. So if I run now, I'm gonna see in the output learning Python. And I can put this even in single quotation marks. I can put a single quotation mark here and a single quotation mark here. And that will work fine, we'll have no errors. So if I run this, you'll also see learning Python. What I can't do is I cannot put, start with a single quotation mark and end with a double quotation mark. So if I put here a double quotation mark, this will show a warning because this is not, we can't do this, it doesn't allow us. And if I put now a single quotation mark here, this will work fine. So I'm gonna put again double quotation marks because I like it. I like more to use the double quotation marks, just my preference. Now, what I can do is I can add a space between those two words. I can add a new, between those two words, I can add a new line. So I get to get the learning on one line and Python on the next line. And to do that, we use a \n. So we put a backslash here at the position where you want to have the new line, and we put \n. And as you can see, this is colored in blue, so it knows that there is a new line there. So if you run this, now you'll see learning, and on a new line you see Python. And that's this is interesting. What I can also do is I can print this in quotation marks, but if I try to put here quotation marks, to have Python in quotation marks, I get an warning because it thinks that I want to close here the line. So this is why I get here an warning. But to get the quotation mark output, we put again backslash, and we put a quotation mark, and this is called the escape character. So now you will see in the output, you see in the output the quotation marks. So with the escape character, by putting the slash and the backslash and the quotation mark, you're gonna get on the output in the quotation mark Python. So you have learning Python. And there are other things that you can do with strings. Now, in addition to typing the string directly here between the parentheses, as you saw in the last video, we can create a string here by creating a variable. So I can type here text, the name of the variable, and I can put here equals, and whatever value I'm gonna type here learning Python. So learning Python. So this is gonna be the value of this variable. And what I can do now is I can output this in the console. So I can delete this text, and I'm just gonna print the text. So it's gonna output in the text. It's gonna output in the console the value which is stored in text. So now if you run this, it basically prints. It sees here that it has to get the value which is stored in text, and then it gets that value and it outputs that value learning Python in the console. Another thing that I can do with string is that I can call functions on the string. And a function is just a block of instructions grouped together which can perform a specific task. So I can do here, what I can do here is I can say text dot, and I can do, let's say, upper, and that is gonna uppercase the letters. So now if I run this, and the way I call the function is text, we put dot, and the name of the function, upper and parenthesis, closing parenthesis, the open parenthesis and closing parenthesis. So now if you run this, you're gonna see the text uppercase, because this function it's uppercasing all the letters of the text that on the variable on which is called. And you can have two functions here. You can have text.upper, and you can have another function which is gonna check if the letter are upper. So is let's say upper. So that is gonna return either true or false. So if you run this, you get true because the first function is called. So this function first is called on the text. and this function is uppercasing the letters. And then the second function is called, and this function is checking to see if the letters are uppercased or not. So if I call this function is upper without uppercasing the letters, without the first function, so I just call text that is upper. So now if I run this, we'll get false because we have lowercase letters in our text. Another thing that we can do is that we can get single characters from our string, and to get individual elements, to get single characters from our text variable, we need to use what is called the index, and the index of the elements of the characters from our text is starting at 0. So the letter L, if you want to get the letter L is stored at the index 0. The letter E is stored at the index 1. The letter A is stored at the index 2, and so on. So the last element is stored at the index, the size of the element minus 1. So the size of the variable, so whatever is the size minus 1. And to get the letter L, we use square brackets. So to get the letter L, we type the name of the variable, square brackets, and 0. And that is going to return L because it's stored at the index 0. So it returns L. If I put here 1, it returns A. If I put here 2, it returns A, and so on. Now, let's say that I don't know how to get the last element. I don't know, because to get the last element we have to count how many characters we have, but let's say that I don't have time for that. How can I do that? First is let's see how many elements we have in our text variable, and to get the length of the variable we type len, and we open parentheses and close in parentheses, and we type the variable text inside our len. And what this len is gonna do is gonna return the length of our text variable. So if I run this, of our text string variable, so the length is 15. And this is very useful because now I can use this length to get the last element. And how I will do that? To do that, we type here text, square brackets, and we type here len, so the length of and now for the length, I'm gonna pass as the parameter the text. And outside the parentheses of the len, I'm gonna put -1, so I'm gonna subtract 1 from that length to get the element text, so we're gonna get the size -1, so we're gonna get the last element, and that is gonna be the index 14. So we're gonna return n. So if I run this, as you can see, you get in the output the letter n. So this is a handy way of getting the last element. Using the length function, passing the variable on which we want to get the length, and we subtract 1 because you know that the index is always 1 times smaller than the size of the variable. So see you in the next video. I'm gonna end this video now, so see you in the next video.